Hey guys, your humble host, or Kayla if you prefer, so I'm back with another video, this time on the Butch Hartman controversy. I know a lot of people have been making videos, but this needs to be spread far and wide because the more I look into it, the more I see evidence flying around, the more I am shocked by this bizarre turn of events. For those of you who do not know what is going on yet, Butch Hartman, the creator of Fairly Odd Parents, Tough Puppy, Danny Phantom, and a few others, broke away from Nickelodeon, I want to say, a little under a year ago and went off to do his own thing. Well, recently he started up a Kickstarter called Oaxis, to which he was going to do his own streaming service and have all sorts of media content on there. Now, the further you look into the Kickstarter campaign, there's a lot of ambiguities and a lot of details that were left very vague. One of them was being that whether or not this was going to be Christian media or have Christian values in place. From what I'm hearing and from what I understand, Butch Hartman was not forthcoming with this information right away when he started the Kickstarter, and when a lot of people started to notice that he started to leak this information sometime a little bit later as the money was already starting to come in, they started to call him out on it. And from what I understand, Butch Hartman has passed his goal with his streaming/media service and has been going on a takedown spree, which is why you won't see any clips, you will not see any comments, tweets from him, media from him in this video. I'm not risking my channel for that garbage. But what I will do for you guys is I will put a link in the description to a YouTube user called PieGuyRulz who has been covering this quite thoroughly, and he has been trying to get as many links in his description as humanly possible. Because like I said, from what I understand, Butch has been taking down many videos that have been critiquing his campaign, calling him out, and a lot of videos that have been using his media in fair use. So, as I said, if you want to know all the details, go in the description below and go watch PieGuyRulz. I'm just going to give my brief thoughts on the matter because there's some disturbing stuff that I want to touch upon. The first thing I want to touch upon is the Christian media aspect. Because like I said, Butch Hartman was not forthcoming and started to talk about it after the money came in. So, for those of you who do not know my stance on Christian media already, I find it cringy, out of touch, won't go near it, won't associate my brand with it or my name. I did try to be a Christian channel a few years back, and then I said the hell with it because it was not working, and what I wanted to do did not fit that Christian mold. I'm a believer in God, I grew up Christian, I still have a lot of my Christian values, but at the same time, I'm also realistic. So, with that being said, and I said this on Twitter, Butch Hartman's tactic was manipulative, sneaky, and I dare say indoctrinating, because you're not being forthcoming with what you want to teach kids or show kids on your streaming service. Also, another thing that ties into that, I was to the understanding that when he was asked if there were going to be other content creators or other people that were going to be adding to the project, nobody has been specifically named. He was asked if it was just going to be a Butch Hartman service, to which he said no, that there will be other people. But no one has been named, no one has been added to this project whatsoever. So that's a little detail that I find sneaky, and I have a sneaking suspicion that once the service is up and running, he's going to be adding individuals that either push Christian media or something similar of that nature. And let me just put this out there. I don't have an issue with Christian media if it's done right. For those of you who are familiar with my channel way before the other crap happened, I want to say about 2 years ago, you guys remember the Faith Kids saga? You remember how a lot of people started to critique their cartoons, and I even went through and they took Bible verses out of context, or they used partial verses, and the animation was lazy, it was sloppy, it was cringy, and they try to go on an attacking spree against people, and they quickly got squashed. So with Butch Hartman, he's doing the same thing. He's trying to squish a lot of the criticism, a lot of the call-outs, because people have been calling him out in regards to this matter. He's being very arrogant from what I'm understanding. I am also hearing that he's leaving nasty comments on the videos that are critiquing him. I have not seen evidence of these comments yet, and I've been looking for them, but I cannot find them. So for those of you who are familiar with this situation already, and you know where screenshots of these comments are, please, I would like to see and have them. I don't care if you post links in the comment section, but if you know where I can find these things, please let me know. That would be awesome. So, going back to the Christian media aspect with Butch Hartman. He is trying to pass off as well Very Odd Parents and Danny Phantom his works as Christian media, to which they are not. Fairly Odd Parents alone deals with magic. If we really want to get technical, magic is considered witchcraft in the Bible. Not kidding. So there's that, and then some of the things that happen in the show are just ungodly. Let me give you one example. You guys remember the episode, and I don't remember the title, where Vicky held a little boy in a basement and he was making, I believe, lemonade for her? And Timmy Turner found this little boy, and it ended up to be the long-lost son of Doug Dimmadome. You guys remember that episode? Not only is that child slavery, that is child labor, and that is child abuse. Like, that is straight-up child abuse, and I remember watching that episode, I'm going, that is freaking dark. So, that was ungodly, and the way that the situation was handled was nothing really happened to Vicky. Her lemonade stand got destroyed, but she didn't go to jail, from what I remember, and Doug Dimmadome came and talked to Timmy for a span of 1 minute, and then took his son back and went away. So that was pretty much that episode, but it was still not very godly, and I'm not saying that you can't have the topic of child abuse in Christian media. I've seen it done correctly, but it was so light. It was actually kind of treated like a joke, because this is Vicky. She's cruel to everybody. That's just one example. Example number 2 has to do with Cosmo getting pregnant. I was greatly disturbed by this episode, and I was actually alerted to it by a sibling who was watching the episode at the time of it aired. They told me about it. I thought they were joking until I got pulled into their room, and it's just like, oh my freaking gosh, and that raised so many questions about Wanda. It's like, if Cosmo's the one carrying the child, what is Wanda? I'm so confused. So that's not a very godly thing, and that's nothing to trans people. I'm just pointing stuff out, so please don't get uppity with me. I'm just saying these things. So that's 2 examples from the Fairly Odd Parents, and there was a lot of dark shit in that show. Let's go to Danny Phantom, which should be more than freaking obvious of it not being Christ-like, godly, or any type of Christian media, considering the entire freaking concept. Ghosts are pretty much seen as evil spirits or demons in the Bible. The Bible does not acknowledge ghosts to be dead people or any sort of thing like that. So there's that big glaring detail. Another thing, from what I remember of the Danny Phantom show, it also had a lot of dark concepts in that were not very godly. Let's take the end of the show altogether, and for those of you who have not seen it, spoilers. So you have the Ghost of Time, or a time-traveling ghost, and he's part of some order that keeps everything in balance. So when they first introduce him, they also introduce a very familiar character all grown up. Danny Phantom. He becomes a Dark Lord, and he has gone around and pretty much killed everybody that was ever close to him, and he continues to do so. So, this time ghost's job is to go back to when Danny Phantom was a kid and pretty much kill him off. And Danny Phantom ends up fighting the time ghost, and he ends up fighting a kind of future self, because he jumps to the future a little bit and has to prevent himself from killing all of his friends and family that get trapped in a building by him, to which he causes to explode. So there's that. The main character turning into a freaking mass murderer, not to mention a Dark Lord ghost that goes and terrorizes not only the ghost zone, but the human world as well. That's not a godly concept. That's not Christ-like. So for Butch to come out and go, well, you can just feel the love of God through my shows. No, you freaking can't, dude. If anything, with Fairly Odd Parents, I was actually creeped out by some of the stuff I saw. And with Danny Phantom, like I said, I like the show. I like Fairly Odd Parents, but it's just like, holy crap. These shows do get dark, especially with Danny Phantom. So there is that. And let me tie this into him not being forthcoming with the OAX's streaming service, because I can tell you why that is there and why he's trying to pass off his shows now as Christian media. What he's trying to do is go, oh, well, I've had these quote-unquote Christian values or these godlike values in my shows the entire time, so why is anybody surprised that OAX's is going to be a Christian streaming service or have Christian values in it? And why is everybody getting mad that I didn't say this from the get-go when this should have already been assumed or known? That's just my hypothesis, because to try to pass off his shows as Christian media is an absolute joke. There is that. I know that this video is already 12 minutes long. I've tried to take this a couple different times to try to cut it down, but that's not happening, I guess. Anyway, let me touch upon some of the things that he has said out of his Speech Bubble podcast, and then I'll wrap it up. The first thing I like to touch upon is the suicide joke. As I have mentioned on my channel before, suicide, depression are not things to freaking joke about. I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not going to tell anybody how to cope with theirs. I just know I've struggled with depression on and off, not to where I needed medicine or to see a counselor, but it has been there due to past struggles, trauma, a few things. But it's not something to joke about, and it needs to be treated very delicately, because there's a lot of people who struggle with it very severely, and one thing can throw them over the edge. It's not funny. It's not something that people made up in the 1970s. It has been around forever. Also, with his voice actress committing suicide and making a joke, oh, well, it was probably her fault. How disgraceful, dude. Especially trying to push a quote-unquote Christian narrative or pushing Christian media. Yeah, I'm really feeling God's love off of that comment. Let's also touch upon the introverted bullshit he decided to spout. I'm an introvert myself. I get very anxious when I'm in other people's spaces, and I'm not talking about my job dealing with customers, because that's different. I can walk away from my customers once they're helped, and I can walk around the store and clear my mind, and yeah. But when it comes to being social with other people, being in their space, having them in my space, whether it be home, car, whatever, I do get anxious. That is not something that I can control. I don't need medicine for it, but I still struggle with it. And being an introvert could mean that you're not very comfortable around other people, that you very much like your own space, you're more relaxed in solitude. And for Butch to come out and say, oh, well, they're selfish, and if they only come out of themselves, dude, you have no fucking idea why they're introverted to begin with. Some of us introverts have had traumatic pasts. Some introverts are just kind of born that way. It is a personality type. And some introverts have had too many burns from people, so they're like, you know what? No, I'm just going to hang out by myself for a while. It's not wrong to be introverted. It's not wrong to want to keep to yourself from most of the time. Now, do you need to learn how to be social and overcome your anxiety and learn to work with people and be around people? Yes, but there's a balance to that. That is a step-by-step process. And a lot of people do have to take a medication for their anxiety. Anxiety itself, when it spikes, can make people sick. I know that I feel my blood pressure rise, my stomach gets nauseous, I get dizzy, and then I get really freaking tired later. So this is also another thing not to joke about. You don't know why anybody's introverted, why they'd rather keep to themselves, and to go, oh, well, they're selfish. No, screw you, dude. actually learn what you're talking about before talking out of your ass. You know, I was really taken aback by what was going on with Butch Hartman, and to me this is Derek Savage with Cool Cat on steroids, because he went on a flogging spree. If you guys remember who Derek Savage is, or Cool Cat, anybody who tried to critique the show, the movies, Derek Savage himself, got their videos torn down on copyright. And it happened to I Hate Everything, and I believe your movie sucks as well. So to see another one of these situations happen with someone on a much larger scale who is well respected and brought a lot of joy with his characters, being part of a big network for a time, is really shocking and bizarre. But the attitude I'm getting off of Butch Hartman is very much predictable with that self-righteous, very pompous, quote-unquote, religious attitude. You're not a real Christian if you're passing that shit off, dude. I mean, legit. I know people are going to scream no Scotsman fallacy at me, but no. In this case, if you're trying to tell people, oh, well, suicide isn't a real thing, it's people's fault that they commit suicide, introverted people are selfish, and you're trying to pass off your cartoons as Christian media, I don't think you have a clue as to what a real Christian looks like. And I've told people, don't look at me as an example of a Christian, just freaking don't. I've had my own struggles with God, I've had my own struggles with the church, so I'm not going to, like, try to steer anybody a certain way. From what I can tell people, do your own digging, do your own research, make up your own damn mind. Don't let anybody spoon feed you. No one. And I have gone and I've read up stuff for myself. I have made up my own mind on things. Nobody spoon feeds me anymore. I do not freaking allow it. Anyway, sorry for the side tangent there. I wanted to get this out. Like I said, I tried to cut this down, but that did not happen. And this ended up being the longest freaking take. Anyway, as I said, PieGuyRulz videos will be in the link in the description. If you guys have screenshots or a link to the screenshots of these nasty comments, I would very much like to see them and have them. And with that being said, I don't wish Butch Hartman to lose his job or anything, but you cannot treat fans this way. You cannot act this way and expect to keep your audience or the reputation of your product. With that being said, I am out.